Have you ever found yourself really wrestling with your own mind? Maybe you're trying to start a new habit or learn something complex or just, find a bit more inner calm. But that goal, that finish line, it just seems miles away, maybe even impossible to reach in one go. It can feel, well, completely overwhelming sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of trying to steer your own thoughts or tackling a huge project, it's incredibly common. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at sources that gives some really profound insights into navigating these kinds of long, multi-stage paths.
Right. Specifically focusing on refining the mind for what our sources call joyful living.
Exactly. We're mainly drawing from this document called Steady Progress. It's fascinating because it weaves together these practical ideas for, well, joyful living with deep wisdom from the Bhagavad Gita. So our goal really is to pull out the practical advice. How do you approach a long journey of self-improvement when an end seems so far off?
Okay. Steady progress and joyful living. Let's unpack that. The source jumps right in with this concept of 14 steps.
Hmm.
But here's the kicker right away. It tells us it's, and I'm quoting here, not possible to complete anyone to start from the first step and reach the top within one lifetime. That's quite a way to start, isn't it?
It really is. It sets a very different kind of expectation.
Yeah.
The text basically says, look, we might all look like adults, but mentally, spiritually, we're at various grades on this path. It uses this great analogy, like a first grader trying to take a final university exam. It's just not feasible.
Mm.
It suggests it takes many lifetimes, plural, to really master even just one or two of these steps.
Wow, okay. So no pressure to ace all 14 steps by next Tuesday then.
Exactly. The pressure's off in that sense.
Okay.
The focus, it says, should be squarely on the current step which we are taking. Just that one.
But then there's this other interesting bit. Everyone starts from step one in this life, it seems to say, regardless of past progress. How does that work with the whole many lifetimes idea?
Yeah, that's a really key point. It's like, okay, we all begin at the starting line in this particular lifetime. But our accumulated knowledge and practice, the work we've done in previous lives, that allows some people to move through the steps much faster.
Ah, okay. So if a step feels kind of intuitive or easier for you.
Exactly. The source suggests that might mean you've already put significant work into that area across, well, potentially many lifetimes. And the flip side is true too. If something feels incredibly hard, that's just the area needing your focus now. And the really reassuring part, if you don't finish all 14, it's not a cause of concern. Your effort isn't wasted.
That honestly makes so much sense of the sheer variety we see in people. How different siblings can be, even raised together. The source actually points this out. It says the subtle body, which includes the mind, intellect, ego, that part survives physical death and carries forward.
Right. The non-physical part, our essence, takes on a new body, carrying those tendencies.
And that's why, even among siblings brought up in an identical environment, the mental attributes vary widely. It gives examples, like how some people react to insults.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Some can brush off insults from strangers but get really hurt by loved ones. Others seem almost unshakable, no matter who says what.
And the source says this isn't random. It's down to how well the mind's been trained, conditioned in previous births.
It's a pretty profound idea, isn't it? That our current reactions, our default settings, are the result of maybe countless lifetimes of effort. The Course even says that if you try to just shut yourself off from the world, your mind still keeps going because of those accumulated preferences. The mental chatter only reduces with long practice, potentially over many lifetimes.
Okay, so that really highlights how deep this goes. But it also leads to a critical question, maybe the most important one. If this journey takes so long, spans lifetimes, why put in the effort now? Why bother with these 14 steps today if the goal is that far off?
Mm-hmm. A very valid question. And the source anticipates it, giving two really compelling reasons why we should make that continuous effort. Reason one is super straightforward. Without spending time and effort refining the mind, it is never going to be possible to reach the destination of joyful living. Period.
Right. It's just a prerequisite, non-negotiable. You can't get there without doing the work.
Exactly. Like wanting to be a musician without ever picking up an instrument, it just doesn't compute.
And the second reason, this one really resonates, I think, especially if you feel a bit daunted by it all.
Yeah, this one's great. It says, we do get benefit according to the effort we put in, and we do not have to wait until we reach the end.
Ah, so it's not all or nothing. You don't have to wait lifetimes to feel some positive effect.
Precisely. It uses this wonderful analogy of eating a meal.
Hmm.
You don't only feel satisfied after the very last bite.
Oh, no, of course not. Each bite helps a bit.
Exactly. For every morsel of food intake, we derive corresponding benefit. And it's
Mhm.
the same with refining the mind. Whatever effort we put in, the quality of our mind will correspondingly increase.
So you actually feel the difference along the way. That's huge for motivation.
Absolutely. The source gives an example. Maybe at first you get really bothered by, say, strangers arguing loudly nearby,
Mm-hmm.
but with practice you progress. Eventually, maybe only something directly involving you disturbs your peace. Your mind becomes progressively steady.
And life becomes correspondingly more enjoyable. That makes sense. Plus, the assurance that you pick up right where you left off.
Continue our effort from the very same point in our subsequent births. Yeah, that's powerful. It means no effort is ever truly lost. It all accumulates.
So the ultimate aim then, regardless of where you are on these 14 steps,
Is to train the mind to stay steady, to remain unaffected by the changes in the external events and objects, and keep it steady on the self-knowledge. Understanding your true, unchanging self beyond the temporary stuff.
and these 14 steps are essentially the roadmap to get there, to achieve that mental steadiness, that joyful living.
Right. It emphasizes that even though it's long, every single step, every bit of effort makes life better, more stable, right here, right now, and builds for the future.
Okay, but let's be real. This whole process, controlling the mind, it sounds incredibly difficult. And
Right.
it is, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's perhaps one of the hardest things we can undertake.
And the source acknowledges this by bringing in wisdom from the Bhagavad Gita, specifically chapter 6. It even starts with Arjuna, the hero, voicing his own doubts.
It does. Arjuna, the great warrior, basically says to Krishna, his guide, look, this system of yoga you've described, it seems impractical, unendurable even. That's verse 6.33.
Impractical and unendurable, that's pretty blunt.
And then in 6.34, he says something so relatable. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it is, it seems to me, more difficult than controlling the wind.
Wow, more difficult than controlling the wind, like
Yeah.
trying to grab smoke. Yeah.
Yeah.
It perfectly captures that feeling of frustration.
Totally. We've all felt that, trying to quiet our own thoughts.
So how does Krishna respond? Does he say, oh, it's easy, just try harder?
Not at all. And that's crucial. In verse 6.35, Krishna acknowledges the difficulty up front. He says, O Arjuna, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind.
Okay, so validation first, it is hard.
Right. But then he immediately follows with the solution.
Mm.
But it is possible by constant practice and by detachment.
Constant practice and detachment. Okay, let's unpack that a bit. Practice seems clear enough, consistent effort. But detachment.
Detachment here, Viragya, isn't about being cold or uncaring. It's more about observing your thoughts, feelings, and what happens externally without getting totally swept away. Like watching clouds drift by without becoming the cloud yourself. It's about not being overly attached to outcomes or identifying too strongly with temporary states.
Okay, that makes sense. So practice builds the strength, detachment creates the space.
You could say that. And Krishna reinforces this in 6.36, saying self-realization is tough for someone with an unbridled mind, but for one whose mind is controlled and who strives by right means, success is assured. That's his opinion, he says.
Striving by the right means practice and detachment. Okay, but then Arjuna asks another really important question in verse 6.37. It's the what if question.
Yes, the fear of failure.
Exactly. What happens if someone starts with faith? They try, but they fall away. They don't persevere. Do all their efforts just poof disappear? He uses the image of a scattered cloud in 6.38. Is it all for nothing?
It's such a human fear, isn't it? Putting effort into something and worrying it'll be wasted if you don't reach the absolute end. But Krishna's answer here in verse 6.40 is incredibly comforting and really central to this whole idea of steady progress. He says, O Arjuna, such a person does not meet with destruction either here or hereafter.
No destruction.
None. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. It's a powerful assurance. Your sincere efforts are never lost, even if you stumble or don't finish in this round.
That's incredibly reassuring. So what happens to this unsuccessful yogi, as the text puts it?
Krishna explains in the next few verses, 6.4143, they're reborn, but into circumstances that are actually conducive to continuing their journey, maybe into a family that's righteous or wealthy, or even among wise spiritual practitioners.
So they get a good setup for the next attempt.
Exactly. And crucially, in that new life, they again revive the work done in his previous life. The inclination, the progress, it's still there. They pick up where they left off and make further progress.
Wow. And verse 6.44 says they become automatically attracted to the yogic principles even without seeking them. It's like the path finds them.
Precisely. The subconscious tendencies, the samskaras created by their past efforts, draw them back towards that path naturally. And then verse 6.45 sums up the long game. Through sincere effort, getting cleansed of mental contaminations bit by bit, then ultimately, after many, many bursts of practice, he attains the supreme goal.
Many, many births, it keeps coming back to that long view. But the key is that the effort always counts, always moves you forward, even if it feels slow.
That's the core message. Slow and steady. Continuous effort.
So bringing this all together, what does it really mean for you listening right now, whether you're tackling mind control, learning a tough skill, or any big long-term goal? I think the message is, it's okay that it's hard. It's supposed to be. And it's absolutely okay if you don't reach the peak immediately, or even in this lifetime.
Right. The critical thing, based on these sources, is that steady, ongoing effort. Remembering that every single step, every morsel of practice, like the food analogy, gives you benefit now and builds towards that ultimate goal.
You're always building on what came before, accumulating that progress. The journey itself yields rewards.
hmm And the Gita's final verses in chapter 6, 6.4647, really emphasize the value of this path. Krishna basically says a yogi, someone engaged in this disciplined practice, is greater than someone just practicing austerity, or someone focused only on intellectual knowledge, or someone just working for results.
So in all circumstances, be a yogi.
Yes. And he concludes by saying the highest yogi is the one who constantly abides in the divine, with great faith, mind absorbed. It's a call for unwavering dedication, however long and winding the path may feel.
It really drives home that idea, slow but steady progress is the way. That's how you reach that goal of joyful living.
It truly is. It reframes the whole concept of success from a single endpoint to a continuous process of refinement and growth.
So reflecting on all this embrace of the long game, the steady effort, even when the goal seems impossibly distant, what aspect of that resonates most with you, especially in our world that often pushes for instant results? Something to think about.